I'm Greg Hunter. This is the weekly news wrap up for Friday, 9/11/2020, a very dark day in U.S. history. The WNW 448. Had a friend of mine call me up, and he was in a panic about what he read and how they're going to amp up the violence, and after the election, and it's going to amp up the violence, and they're going to take over the Democrats. And stop, I said, stop it. I'm going to make a big, bold prediction here. This is going to be a blowout election in November. Blowout for Trump. Blowout. This mail-in voting, 80 million votes. I heard the president talking about this, so he's had high-level conversations about this. Number one, we know it's coming. They know it's coming. We all know that cheating is coming. It's not sly. It's not covert. It's overt. They have to cheat. Even the Democrats say they have to cheat. More of that in a minute. So they know it's coming. And then Trump said something like 80 million. They can't handle hundreds of thousands, tens of thousands of votes in some of these states. We're going to handle 80 million by election. And no, forget it. It's not going to happen. This is going to work. And if they do try to cheat, it's going to be found out. So, and even the Democrats, they know they're not going to win. They know it. Blowout victory for Donald Trump. The mail-in voting is going to be a side note in history. It's a known fraud and coercion by the James A. Baker and Jimmy Carter, former President Jimmy Carter, bipartisan commission. Mail-in voting is fraud and coercion, period. Everybody knows it's a big fraud. It's overt. And so, report far-left groups secretly organized and prepare for mass violence after secretly organized. That's why it's being reported. It's not a secret. Mass violence after Joe Biden loses in November. They know he's going to lose, which is why they have to come up with something to hold on to get power back. A central group of far-left and communist groups gathered on Zoom last week to plot strategy following the November 3rd election to fight. The Fight Back Table Initiative met to plot and organize strategy and violent actions following the November elections when Joe Biden loses to President Trump. The group confirmed the potential for violent conflict is high. Where's the DOJ? Where's the FBI? Where's the Division of Homeland Security? Department of Homeland Security? Where are they? Do you think they're sitting going to let this happen? I mean, it's not a secret. This was a story at the dailybeast.com. That's not a peaceful protest. You could plan a peaceful protest. You can't organize an insurrection without there being penalties. It's sedition. It's treason. It's against the law. It ain't secret. I mean, this is absolutely off the charts in terms of what's going on. And let's just talk about who's going to turn out on election day. I saw one study where, about 30% of Republicans believe in the mask and that this isn't a scam, and that this is a scam, this whole overreaction to COVID and all this other stuff, CV-19. And then the Democrats are like 75, 78%. They're worried. And then we're getting this warning, Dr. Fauci, the guy that's missed every major call. I don't even know why he's still talking. We need to hunker down and get through this fall and winter because it's not going to be easy. He's talking about another second wave. What if Democrats are too scared to vote in November? Think about that. And they just go, whoa, too dangerous for me. While all the Trump voters say, we're going. We're in. We're going. I can't put a sign in my yard. I can't do anything. This violent stuff is going crazy. We're going. What happens if that happens? And then this is the big bugaboo. In 2016, Trump had 8% black vote. Now, that doesn't seem like much, but dang, it was double what Mitt Romney got about. 8% in 2016. Then, what happens if Trump gets 16% in 2020? Game, set, match, folks. It's over. Black approval after the RNC convention, actually during this poll, Harris Hill poll, 24% of probable black voters. They've had enough. Don't pat me on the head and stop giving me a cookie and telling me I got to stay on the thought plantation of the Democrat Party. And there were many more. I mean, some of these polls have black voters at more than 50%. This is a Rasmussen poll. In June, it was 40% of a Rasmussen poll. Oh, wait, listen, who knows how many people are going to vote, but it ain't going to be 8%. It's going to be way more than that. Way more than that. And they're pulling this Black Lives Matter Antifa farce, con game, scam, so they can say, wow, you're white and you should feel guilty, so you need to turn everything over to the Marxists. And you don't need religion or a constitution or First Amendment or Second Amendment. You don't need anything. You need us, the Marxists, to take over. And they're going to work out for them. It's lackadaisical, a critical race theory, some highfalutin academic name for something completely unscientific, completely illogical, irrational, gibberish. And if you took the people that are going to these indoctrinations at these corporations, they feel like they're forced to go, and you take out white male, racist, white supremacist, that illogical crazyville, and then you put in black person or black man, can you imagine the lawsuits that would happen? Listen, stand up and tell everybody, Mr. Smith, who happens to be black, tell it why that you should be ashamed of your color. But that's what they're doing to white people. Oh, Mr. Jones, stand up and tell everybody why that you caused all this systemic racism and why you should apologize for being white. Do you think there's going to be some lawsuits over this? Do you know it? President Trump just stopped all the critical race theory garbage at all the federal institutions, ordered it stopped, executive order. Can you when I was an investigative reporter, I always looked for good stories that had a hint of outrage that I could prove. You think there's a hint of outrage here? Yes. Do you think you could prove it? I mean, it's textbook. It's against the law. It's against the civil rights laws well established in this country. Corporate America is going to be rue the day they bit into this farce, critical race garbage theory. That's illogical, and instead of these people come in and put on these seminars are high paid. But here's another thing, the reason why it's going to be a blowout. Have you seen any polls on independent voters? In the past, had about 28, 29% Republicans, and you had 32% or so of Democrats, but that's changed. I mean, let's just say you got 30% of Republicans and about 30% of Democrats. In the middle are independent voters. How many independent voters do you think they can capture? There have been no polls on this, just independent voters. How many you think they can capture? Of course, I don't trust the polls anyway, really. With all this fire and mayhem and burning stuff down and violence, and it's from the left, period, the end. How many of those people do you think they're going to get the 40%? I don't know, 10% maybe? The Democrats. They're not going to get them. People aren't going to, the independents, which I'm an independent, but now I lean totally right. I'm a Christian, and you can't vote for Democrat if you're a Christian. I mean, baby killing Democrats, baby killer Cooper in North Carolina, he's awful. And grandma killing Governor Cuomo, and also he kills him on both ends, man. Governor Cuomo kills them on both ends. Old, young, kills them all. But how many do you think you're going to get? And I can't get it to work out any other way than a blowout for Trump. They know they have to have violence and cheating, even though the violence is backfired. That's all they got. Cheating, that's all they got. It's over. It's not covert. It's not slick, sly. None of that stuff. That's what they were doing in 2000. With Project Veritas 16, and they had this Bob Kramer going to the White House. Obama wanted Hillary to win, and then look at the candidates. I mean, at least Hillary, other than stumbling into a van and having some slips and falls and slips, she can at least talk. She was cognitive. Nobody said, "Wow, she's a dementia patient. She's lost a lot in her mental ability. She had a couple of brain aneurysms." Biden has. Who are we kidding here? He is mentally incompetent to be president of the United States, and nobody likes his running mate, Kamala. Even though she is black and a female, nobody likes her, especially black people. So this idea that it's going to be a close race, they're going to be able to cheat with impunity. No, they're not. That's why when Barr was on with Wolf Blitzer a week or so ago, and why Wolf Blitzer didn't say, I would have said, huh, what? You got what? He said, I got several big voter fraud cases at the Department of Justice. Really? Holy cow. Tell me about them. How many times has the Attorney General had several big voter fraud cases at the Department of Justice? Not many. I also have another theory. I talked to Kevin Shipp about this, and I said, there's been a lack of indictments and arrests for the coup plotters. No doubt. They got one FBI agent to roll over, and don't know what the deal is with that. And I'm sure he's rolled over. And you got to say to yourself, listen, did they have a meeting? And I don't know this. This is my analysis now. Because Trump's saying nothing about other than that they caught him. They caught President Obama. They caught all of his administration spying on my campaign and spying on my, in my presidency, they were spying on me. It's obvious. They used a phony dossier, obvious fact. They filled out fraudulent FISA warrants, fact. You got to wonder if Barr went over to Donald Trump and said, listen, Mr. President, we could go after these coup plotters, and it's going to take a lot of horsepower because, it's the CIA, it's the Director of National Intelligence, Clapper, it's Comey, it's McCabe, it's Strzok, it's Page, it's the, it's the State Department, it's global, it's the MI6, it's over in overseas, it's Australia, it's Italy, it's a huge case. It involves, the Department of Justice, FBI. It involves the NSA, the CIA, the Director of National Intelligence, Clapper. He's rolled over, I think. And Mr. President's going to take a lot of horsepower, and this is going to be all for naught if you don't get reelected. So why don't we go after the violence, Antifa, Black Lives Matter, which is a whole total scam. They don't care about black lives. They care about turning the country communist, Marxist. That's what they care about. And then let's go after the voter fraud. Let's put all of our firepower to thwart the cheating and the violence and the things which would stop you being reelected. And we'll get the guys later. Statute of limitations isn't going to run out. It doesn't run out for treason and sedition. And I think that's why you, boom, silence on the whole coup plotters. And they think they've gotten off. And maybe they have. I don't think so. I think in the second Trump term, they all go down. But you got to get to the second Trump term. And I'm telling you, you look at, you had 8% in 2016. That's going to double. Leo Terrell said he had 1 million voters in 2016. It's going to go to 2 million. He's a civil rights attorney that's now a Republican, Leo Terrell. A civil rights attorney with some chops. He's relatively famous. Well, that's 8% to 16%. What happens if he gets 25%? And if he's getting that many black Democrats, okay, how many Democrats what percentage, 10, 15, 20, are like, woo, burn everything down, and I hate whitey, and I should be ashamed of being white, and how many Democrats are going to, we didn't know? And how many Democrats who are going to be so freaked out with Dr. Fauci are just going to say, I'm not going out? Blowout for Trump is what it adds up to. I'm not saying you shouldn't go vote, and you shouldn't speak out, and you shouldn't don't do anything violent, and you shouldn't get people to vote and get yourself out to the polls. But I can't get this to work out any other way. You do violent, crazy things and cheat when you're desperate. I mean, and when you're desperate and you do violent, crazy, cheating, lying, and violence, that doesn't work out well when you're desperate. And the Democrats are clearly, and look at them, clearly desperate. And look at the guy they're running. I mean, come on. Does anybody think he can put 3 or 4 sentences together in a debate? I say they don't happen. I think the president ought to be coming out right now going, I don't think Biden will be up for the debates. I don't know if he's going to claim he's got COVID. I don't know if he's going to claim he stubbed his toe or he had a bad day or I said something to make him really mad. He's not going to debate the president. as I said before, it's going to be like a guy with a paring knife against a guy with a 3-foot sword. It's going to be bad. This is awful what they're allowing Biden to do. They're going to let him debate Trump. That's like allowing your kid to turn the garbage disposal on and stick their fingers in it to see, hey, let's see if this tickles. And Biden, the wild card is Biden, and all the wild card are one-eyed jacks and negative cards that could flip over. If he just holds his own, that'll be a miracle. But no, I mean, who knows what's going to happen with him? There's just 50 some odd days left to go. Is he going to get better between now and then? Gerald Celente thinks he's being drugged, but how long can that last? Can that hold up in an hour and a half, 2-hour debate with Donald Trump? Do you think Donald Trump is slipping? I don't. Does anybody think he's slipping? No. Is Biden slipping? Yes. His wife's talking for him a lot of the time, or Kamala. They don't want Kamala to talk too much. They'll say, hey, how come Biden isn't talking? He had a Snapchat thing, ask me anything. Didn't answer any questions. Who are we kidding here with Biden? This is some strong candidate. In my humble opinion, as long as I've been alive and watched presidential races, this is mentally the weakest candidate ever. I mean, he has obvious, and I don't have to be a doctor to figure this out. He has obvious mental depreciation, disabilities. Something's wrong. And everybody knows it. This is going to be some close race. I mean, Hillary Clinton could talk and walk for the most part. And nobody was saying, wow, she's losing it mentally. And that basically was an electoral college blowout. And do they really have control of California? Do they really have control of the Democrats? New York? I mean, Cuomo has done awful. And now, oh my gosh. Now, and the people that are being attacked, handled this corona thing in a totally different way. I'll get to Cuomo in a minute. South Dakota governor Kristi Noem slams Sturgis super spreader. Did you see the story? Oh, Sturgis, it's a super spreader. More junk science fiction. It's a study. No, it's some propaganda they called a study. Noem, governor of South Dakota's fiction, not science. Noem says on Fox, many in the media disagree with our respect for freedom. They will continue to attack us for the path that we have taken. They didn't do all this lockdown junk. But South Dakota is proof that freedom works, even in the face of a global pandemic. Now, I know the population of South Dakota is nowhere near, the population of New York City, but wow, what a difference. And Cuomo, he's going to open up the restaurants on the 30th of September. And they say that the vacancy rates have skyrocketed by another 75% on Broadway. On Broadway, it looks like a ghost town, they say. And then he said, I heard him say it, we're going to allow the restaurants on September 30th to open up to 25% capacity. 25% used to live there. You know how much space between a table there is, generally speaking? Like this much is between tables. I kid you not. I mean, space is at a premium. I mean, you're sitting right on top of other people, right? Because they need to turn the tables over as much as they can because rents are so high. They're gonna have 6 feet social distancing. Okay, please stop. Oh, and on top of that, as if that's not opening up to be a money loser with only 25% capacity when you used to have whatever your 100% was. And at least one person from your group has to give your phone number and identify yourself for contact tracing. Oh yeah, that's not going to cause a chilling effect for people going out. You mean you're going to follow me around and possibly quarantine me for 2 weeks if I go out and there's some fake phony test result that says that somebody has it when they don't, that all these false positives. Oh yeah. Do you think people in New York are going to be piling into restaurants to get a quarter of the space they used to have? And oh, by the way, make sure you give us your cell phone number and identity because we're going to trace you. If there's something wrong, you're going to get quarantined. New York is imploding, folks. And none of these idiots with government jobs and locked-in paychecks that require taxpayer revenue confiscation to exist, they're not worried. I mean, New York City is a huge part of the American economy. I think that just New York City, I think it probably adds up to a few percent of GDP, just New York City. It's unbelievable. In San Francisco, another friend of mine on the coast says there's more than 50% of storefronts are vacant in San Francisco. By the way, I want to tell you something. I said that Nancy Pelosi was up a Republican. She's not. They have what they call jungle primaries, where a lot of times you'll have two Democrats teeing off on each other. That's why they rigged the primary section, even for the House of Representatives, which Nancy Pelosi is Speaker of the House, and she's up against some even more far-left wackadoodle in San Francisco. I got confused. The guy, Joe Clark, is up against Maxine Waters, and he is a Republican. He's a black Navy vet going after Maxine Waters' seat. Watch that race. I suspect he will knock her out of the box. And there's not much he's going to be able to do about it. I mean, she's done an awful job. And, of course, it's the Democrat Party, the lie, cheat, steal party, baby-killing party. But one other thing, I don't know where to put this, but I just put it in here. Something to look out for, UAE. You know, the president just brokered a deal between Israel and the United Arab Emirates, right? And so he's up for a peace prize, a Nobel Peace Prize. He's been nominated for it. He probably won't get it, but because they hate him globally, because he's not a globalist. But the UAE will also be a target of Iran's response to any Israeli aggression. And this is Abdulhayam. I don't know exactly how to say him. He's the assistant speaker of the Iranian Parliament for International Affairs, and he's warned after the UAE's normalization with Israel, any Israeli aggression against Iran would bring the UAE into the circle of response. Why am I telling you that? Well, that's bad enough, isn't it? More war in the Middle East, as if that's what they need over there. And here we have this. Air Force acknowledges clandestine base in UAE. Guess what? Any Israeli response is going to involve the United States as well. It's on the south side, UAE, on the south side of the Persian Gulf. Right across the Persian Gulf is Iran. So that's just something to take a look at and to file in the back of your head. Also, lots still going on of tension in the South China Sea. Tension between the U.S. and China, Taiwan and China. They want Taiwan back. They want to fold it back into the communist regime. They don't want to do that, obviously. Lots of tension there. Wars, rumors of wars, but no real wars yet that I can see. But there's lots of tension building up around the world. I wanted to bring up this. And I'm going to bring it up now. It's another week. And the good news is, wow, it was less than 1 million people that filed for unemployment benefits. Folks, this is astronomical. This is, 3, 4, 5 times above what normal unemployment filings is. And this is 884,000 people. We're, just really close to 1 million, but hey, it was less than 1 million. So party on, Wayne. Filed new jobless claims last week. Weidler reported 884,000. Wow, it was less than 1 million. Michael Pinto is going to be coming on for the Saturday Night Post. And facts and figures that are hair curling about where we're heading and how much debt we have and what the real unemployment is. And he'll be talking about that. He'll be talking deflation, inflation, gold, silver, bonds. He just got hit. There's lots of things that are going on, and they're not good, and you need to pay attention to this, and you need to defend against taking on lots of debt and thinking that everything is cool and groovy and things are really getting better. I love Donald Trump. He's the guy to be in the White House for this kind of severe economic shutdown that was caused by the CCP. Kind of have to say it that way because, I don't want to get, striked or demonetized. On my website, I actually, Paul Craig Roberts that post, if you go on the post, where he says anti-white racism on the rise in America, I believe that's the title. Google, AdSense, they got pissed and demonetized that whole page. So you go on, there's no ads. So, but I'm still going to put out the real news. I'm not going to care whether I get monetized or not. But that's one of the ones they didn't monetize. But he's going to be the Saturday Night Post. Lots of facts and figures and the Fed and where inflation is going, and inflation is coming, folks. It's It is coming, and it's going to be engineered. I'll just say that you'll want to see this, and you want to be able to hear, so you get the information and plan accordingly. And you won't be getting any of this information on CNBC. He used to be a darling on CNBC, Fox Business, Michael Pinto, and he tells the truth, so it can't have that. But he does come on USA Watchdog and tell the truth, and you will want to hear what he has to say about what's coming up and what the real amount of people who are collecting unemployment checks. It's stunning. And then you take a look at what happened. They just had this skinny bill. They wanted $300 billion to kind of fill some holes with the money they're putting out, because there's the money, the PPP money and the extra unemployment and the unemployment given to lots of people has kind of smoothed over the real disaster that is this economy, and has smoothed over occluded the real disaster, which is severe, Great Depression severe. And then the Senate was trying to pass a skinny, couldn't get the 300, they call it skinny, but $300 billion, like that's not a lot of money. Senate defeat of skinny coronas, it puts it on a dead end street. So that's it for the fiscal year ends September 30th. So I think they're going to go home soon. Maybe they'll try something. I don't see how they can. But they went down. They only got 52 votes for it. Rand Paul voted against it. U.S. Senate on Thursday killed a Republican bill that would have provided around $300 billion new coronavirus aid, as Democrats seeking far more funding prevented it from advancing. Nancy Pelosi once, at one point, she wanted $3+ trillion. She marked that down to around $2+ trillion. The Republicans want $1 trillion, $1.2 trillion, something like that. They're off by $1 trillion. Pelosi wants money to rebuild all these cities that the crazy Marxist Democrats have burned down with BLM and Antifa, all the while telling us it's mostly peaceful, which is a huge lie, and anybody with two eyes knows it. And so that's going nowhere. I don't think we're going to get any more relief, which is, according to Michael Pinto, that's going to be a little deflationary. That's gonna put a squeeze on the money, and it's gonna put more stress on people. The other end of the spectrum. You keep printing all this money, and you're gonna get massive inflation, and the bond interest rates are gonna spike, and the bonds are gonna get destroyed. Currencies are gonna get destroyed. Listen, we've never been here. We have never been here before, folks. Forget Great Depression. This is worse than that. This is uncharted territory, which is, why you need to have, tangible assets under your control that can't go poof, in a downturn, a severe downturn in the markets. And if you look at China, this is a story that just came out last week, I think yesterday, in China. And China is, they're $1.1 trillion holder of our treasury debt, and they're not doing that with their reserves. They're buying everything. They're buying farm products, grain. They're buying industrial metals, gold, silver. They're buying everything. Hogs, chicken, the kitchen sink. They're buying tangible assets. And that's what China is doing. What are they? They're going to put their foreign reserves in a 10-year treasury that's paying 0.6%, and we know the inflation is way higher than that. It was up at 8 or 9%. It's come down, according to John Williams, it's come down to around 4 or 5% because of all this capital destruction, all these restaurants going out of business, all these empty storefronts, all these black holes in retail. In downtown New York, they don't even have any retail space in Minneapolis. They burned it all down. In Portland, that's all burned down. And it continues to go on. The violence in New York continues to go on. They haven't wrecked enough stuff yet. If you think this is going to continue to go on, and with the DOJ and Department of Homeland Security and the FBI doing nothing, you're sadly mistaken. I think warrants are going to happen beforehand. The secret, we're going to destroy everything after the election, isn't a secret. They're not going to allow it to happen. It's going to start getting really ugly. Who do these people think they are? And this is what I'm saying. When I told my friend, I started this out, I told him, stop it. Stop being fearful. Oh, it's going to be a close election. No, it's not. It's going to be a blowout. It's going to be a blowout. Mark my words. I just wanted to close with this, and which would, you have all these people fleeing New York City. It's getting worse and worse. Cuomo wants to tell you, we're going to open up restaurants and contact trace you. It's only 25%. Forget it. It's stupid. Nobody's going to go out to eat. I mean, wait a minute. I got to give you my telephone number and you're going to trace me? No, you're not. I'm not going out. I'm going to go to the grocery store. That ain't going to happen. They've wrecked New York. It ain't coming back anytime soon. Can you imagine the next mayor would have to be a staunch fiscal conservative Republican who's going to have to bring back the crime unit? All these murders have skyrocketed in New York. They have to bring back the 600-member anti-crime unit. They're going to have to do some major engineering to bring the city back. It's going to take more than 3 or 4 year term. I mean, New York is gone for a long time, folks. It's sad. I lived there for almost 10 years. It was a beautiful place. Democrats ran, well, actually, Bloomberg ran it, Mr. Anti-Gun. But other than that, he was pretty conservative in law and order. He did the stop and frisk, which I think is unconstitutional. But that's how Big Bird, got in De Blasio. And so, but I mean, commercial NYC, New York City commercial real estate sales plummet 54%, lowest on record. Are you kidding? If you look at the what's going on, one report said Broadway had too much of stuff. It looks like a ghost town on one of the classiest, longest, most storied streets in America. Broadway Joe Namath, Broadway. It's just unbelievable. You have a commercial condo market that's the prices year over year are down 93%. Folks, the country's in trouble. And they just stopped the money printing that would have, pushed it out a little farther. Does it make it after the election? I hope so. But no matter what, there's going to be a day of reckoning. It's going to be sooner than you think. I know I love Donald Trump. He got saddled with $20 trillion a day, walked into office, and another $21 trillion. And there's no way he was going to start slashing everything and imploding the economy right then. There's no way he was going to do that. Somebody made a decision, a group of people made a decision a long time ago, and I don't know if it was in Clinton or it was in Bush 43 or Obama or whatever. They were never paying this money back. It's never going to get paid back, folks. Any of the money they're borrowing is never getting paid back. Another thing Pinto is talking about is the massive monetization, money printing, which will surely at some point bring on inflation. It's unbelievable. And so what I want to tell you is the people that I have had on in the last, 10 or 11 years have been largely right. Yes, we didn't get the stock market run up because, wow, after all, they did print up an extra 21 trillion nobody knew about. We didn't learn of that until 2017. That's how they were able to put this thing off. They had all this extra money printing on top of the 20 trillion that Donald Trump had the day he put his hand on the Bible in 2017. But listen, what we've been talking about, how severe it was and what they did and the manipulation and intervention and naked short selling in the gold and silver market and the intervention in LIBOR and interest rates and commodities and all this stuff is coming to a head. And you need to prepare yourself for it. So thank you for supporting USA Watchdog with your comments and donations. I really appreciate it. Thank you very much. The site's free. If you can donate, fabulous. If you can't, pass it along to your friends and no guilt. So I do this because I want you to be informed. I want you to have a no BS look at, wow, I was thinking about buying a new car and, having a 6-year note, but, I think I'm going to buy a used car and have a much shorter duration for a car. Or maybe I need just to buy a new tire. Listen, one of the things I want to tell you is stay out of debt. With what's coming, you don't want any more debt. Stay out of debt. Get rid of as much debt as you possibly can. And stay out of it because the next several months, and I do think Donald Trump will be president for the next 4 years after this year, starting in 2021. That's when his next term starts. But listen, I want you to be informed so you're not fearful. These weasels want you fearful. Oh, they have so much power, and they're going to do violent things, and you're helpless. No, you're not helpless. And don't be fearful. That robs you of your good judgment. It robs you of your faith. You shouldn't be fearful. So fear not. Prepare yourself physically, mentally, and above all spiritually. Fear not. God the Father, Son, Jesus Christ, and the Holy Spirit are all firmly in control. And please don't forget it, and don't succumb to this fear. Please don't. Thank you again for supporting me on usawatchdog.com.